Everyone wants to be seated. We'll start out with a roll call.
She's doing great. Yeah.
Delaware County, Mr. Early is excused.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Jones.
Yes, sir.
Priest Telemeter.
Here.
Andy Wilson.
Here.
Fulton County, Yvonne Hart.
Here.
John Farquhar.
Here.
Bill Dunham.
Here.
Hamilton County, Joyce Malidi.
Here.
Bill Malidi is present. Gary Wicks.
Here.
Montgomery County, Tom Pasquarelli.
Here.
Mickey Swartz.
Here.
Trish Green.
Here.
Tony Agresta.
Here.
Otsego County, Sidney Chase.
Here.
David Markowitz. He's here, okay. Dana Wygand is working without a doubt. Rich Kirschman.
Here.
Harry County, Bill Beavers.
Here.
And Mark Zeke is excused. Poor devil is down in Florida, where he told me it was cold and rainy.
Oh.
I tried hard to feel sympathy, but
72.
Dr. Leinhardt,
Here,
Did you
we
check?
have a quorum, sir.
72.
So,
probably.
Everyone get a copy of our minutes from last month's meeting. We need a motion to approve.
So moved.
who was, Rich?
And a second. Motion made and seconded for approval. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed or abstained. We have some guests here today.
Boy, do we ever. We have Country Sweet from JVAC. We have Charlie Caruso from JVAC. Mike Fritzl is not here now. He was here this morning. Scott Brand is still here, or is he left? He left, okay. Stacy Wojciechowski.
Yeah.
And she's with Sharon Springs, and Anne-Marie Keiss. I was a little hesitant about the name. Anne-Marie Keiss from Sharon Springs also. Welcome both of you. Charlie Miller from Delaware County. Joe Farrell and Mary Ramo from somewhere out there. Lucas Paskowitz from JVAC. We got 3 from JVAC today. Sean Wilson from Ambulance Service of Fulton County. Deb Cuffs and Beth McGowan. Did I leave anyone out? Okay. Howard.
District Youth, I believe.
Give me a free sample.
Disposable medical.
Disposable medical, right?
You forgot him.
The Ebola guy.
Head marketing.
Okay, well, welcome everyone. Let's see. Correspondence, here we got a copy of correspondence. I don't really have a report. I've had some conversations in the past couple of months from various EMS providers in our region. And it seems to me like there's lack of communication at times on some of the scenes. As I've tried to tell my people that, you know, especially when you go in someone's home, think of yourself as a guest there. I had a couple of my medics that are my basic EMTs that I had to chastise a little bit because they were acting like 3-year-olds. And I think, you know, there's an old saying that, you know, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And that's really true in EMS. So I think everybody's, you know, trying to do a real good job out there and just keep it up. Secretary?
Certainly. Secretary's report. I have a very short report, believe it or not. The standard mileage allowance for travel in 2015 has been set by our federal government at 57.5 cents a mile. So you get a penny and a half more per mile on your vouchers. You'll notice the difference right away in your reimbursement checks. And the annual budget template and training plan was forwarded by us to Lisa DeLong at the Department of Health on January the 8th. They didn't give us much time for it this year. It was very, very short, only a few weeks. And thanks to Joyce, it got cranked out and sent in. We don't have any notice of enforcement actions this month. Does that mean everybody was behaving themselves? That's an open question. That's my report, sir.
Treasurer's report?
Cash flow and balance sheet copies are here, and I gave Lou and Sid, Tom, and Jack Farquhar the cash flow, balance sheet, and register reports, plus copies of the canceled checks, like our auditor wants, and their report.
Everything appears to be in order.
I On January the 6th, the required deliverables and a voucher for $12,280.76 were forwarded to Lisa DeLong. The third quarter of the council contract, that's the period from October the 1st to December 31st. On the same date, deliverables and a voucher for $31,445.12 was forwarded to her for the program agency contract expenditures. And I expect we probably will have payment by the end of the month. They have been very good. The last 4 quarters have been very good about payments, prompt payments. And that's our report.
Okay, thank you. Motion to accept the treasury report as presented.
So moved.
Who was that? Oh, Pat?
Pat,
Dave?
second.
Second.
Okay.
Motion been made and seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed or abstained?
Abstain.
Well, both President and I will abstain instead.
Okay, committee report. Anything on program agency?
Program agency, I think the time has come to upgrade Joyce's computer in the office because it's running Windows XP.
I'm going to take target practice out on the thing.
About all it's worth now is the target practice, to be honest with you. But, so I would
It has
like-
1,148 emails in there that I can't get out, so if you have given me an email lately, it's with the 1,148.
most of them are
Most of them are just garbage, but
we get on my computer.
send it
in the
to
office,
Phil. His
The
is
AAREMS
working.
computer in the office, the AAREMS at frontiernet.net, I get anywhere between 30 and 80 emails a day, and the vast number of those are just trying to sell something. Or some nice lady's inviting me to spend quality time with them, or something of that nature.
See, I don't get that. I don't understand. I don't understand.
Anyway, I would like to purchase a computer and monitor for Joyce, and I'd like to have your permission to do so. We have the funds available to do it.
You want to make a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Second. Right.
I'm sorry, who's second? Okay.
Motion been made and seconded. We'll go ahead and purchase the new computer for the office. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Any opposed or abstained? Okay, anything else on program agency?
Nothing on a program agency. I have a little, so before Joyce comes in on the training committee, I have a little something from Tim Morales at Remo regarding the Android app. He tells me that it's ready to go. I've been hearing that from the folks in California who put it together, but he said that it'll be ready in the very near future. He thinks within 2 weeks, and they are upgrading it to show the protocol revisions at the present time. And printed copies of the new protocols are available in 5x8 format through the Remo website. If anyone is interested, they are available on the Remo website. From a third-party supplier. Tim was very precise in telling me that Remo has no financial interest in this, that somebody else is doing it. So just for your information, and whatever Joyce has under training.
The only thing I question you if you're going to buy a paper book is they're probably, by the time you get it, they'll be good for about 4 months before the AHA revision.
And they're not the same pocket size that they were. It's about half a 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper.
Isn't it the senior version?
It's larger print version.
It's 8 by 5, I think.
I need that.
Aging population.
Sorry.
It's like EMS.
And if you do, on the email Phil sent out, if you call Robbie McRae and talk to him about that, he will tell you, and Jim Rabbit will tell you the same thing. He's not affiliated with Remo whatsoever. He's just working for the company that's printing them. But it's an online order only.
Till the end of the month, I believe he said, in his
Yeah.
emailing, he said that you can place the order up to January 31st. So for what it's worth, we pass it on.
Okay. Training. Joycey?
Sorry, we're having a philosophical discussion here.
It's actually related to something.
With the state of New York. Yeah, related to something. That's right. Anyway, nothing really much new about training. The Ebola, policies and procedures, not the suggested ones, but ones that people can adapt, have gone out to everybody. I have gotten a couple questions on them, and basically they're for your use to adapt as needed if you would like to. If you don't want to use them, that's fine. They're not mandatory at all. Every agency really should have policies and procedures related to Ebola, and this was just so that every agency didn't have to invent their own. Some agencies will find they need most of it. Some agencies will find they don't need, a lot of what's there. So it's basically just take it and use it if you want, adapt it as you need, and that's it. And if you have any questions on it, give me a call or send me an email.
Just to
No,
repeat.
don't send me an email.
Just to repeat, the Commissioner's directive applies to ambulance and ALS first responder agencies, but not to ALS first responder agencies. Just to repeat that. Not that everybody shouldn't have some kind of Ebola preparation in hand, but the BLS first responder agencies do not come under the purview of the Commissioner's order, just so you understand that.
If you do want to get in touch with me by email, I'll give you our home, or should I just send it to you and you'll re-forward it, or what?
Just send it to Ann.
Send it to the regular, just AAREMS at frontiernet.net, and Phil will just send it to me.
As soon as we get the new computer, we'll set something up that's a little bit more user-friendly.
And honestly, if you have sent anything in the last probably month, I can't get it. So if there's anything important, let me know.
Okay, thank you. Transportation standards?
Transportation standards, no activity has occurred, nothing to report.
I'm sorry, Lou, can I just revisit training again?
Certainly.
We are going to start discussions next month on the upcoming, or this year's instructor update. So please, if you have any ideas for an instructor update, I am totally wiped out as far as any ideas this year. Just let me know, and we can discuss that next month at the training meeting.
Okay. Nothing from state council, Mark?
I didn't have time to type this as state council was Tuesday and Wednesday this week. I will email Phil some of the documentation that needs to go out, and he can forward it to the AAREMS members. But just a brief verbal report. The vetting process for myself to be appointed to the state council is complete. We're just waiting for the commissioner to actually sign off on it. But everything is done on the DOH side of things. Adult respiratory distress / CPAP protocol is out of pilot. It has been approved. That is one of the documents I will forward. So it is a VLS protocol. At this point, the protocol is out. I will forward that to Phil through those agencies that want to take that on. State formulary is updated, complete, and approved. It did two different things with the state formulary. It obviously has all of the state-approved medications. It initially included the dosages, routes, and indications for all of those. The council decided to approve the formulary as just a list of medications and leave it up to the regional councils to update their protocols based off of how they felt fit. Obviously, we're part of the collaborative protocols. And they're only going to use the version with the dosages, routes, and indications as a reference document only.
And for instructors.
And for instructor. The New York City protocol for EDP was approved. It's very similar to ours, except it allows a change in the medication. They're going to be allowed to use 10 milligrams of Versed on standing orders, as opposed to ours with the 5. But that was brought forward by NYPD for their ESU program. That also brought up a conversation about the way that protocols are adopted. Currently, if we wanted to add a protocol such as EDP, and it was the same thing, it would have to go in front of CMAC. the CMAC voted to make it so that any protocol that they have approved, even though it's for other agencies or other regions or whatever else, as long as we want to mimic it, it would be the same process that we have to adopt the collaborative protocols. Comment period, you submit a letter notifying the department that that you want to use that protocol, and they would respond. I did pass out a report, or part of a report, on the spinal mobilization tag. 2008, when the selective spinal mobilization protocols came out, the goal was to help or make it so that less people actually were placed on a backboard. It had just the opposite effect. More people were actually backboarded based off of that protocol. And as we read in all of these different studies, most states are getting away from backboarding altogether. The new protocol for spinal mobilization was adopted. Education is working on a training program to put it out, and Beth, help me out here, because it was kind of left up in the air on whether or not, now that it is adopted, we can roll it out as...
Not yet, because they were going, I got that they were going to put together education pieces, including how to remove someone from a backboard when you've used it as an extrication tool.
And that's all it is a backboard is an extrication device only. It's not really for spinal mobilization.
It is in major trauma. The major trauma criteria remain the same. So if you have a prone motorcyclist in the ditch, and I believe that was the example they used, that would still be an appropriate indication for spinal immobilization. But if you have the person that's extricated themselves and is wandering around the scene doing this, put a rigid collar on them, sit them on the stretcher, spinal restriction. So no more standing takedowns.
Ultimately, the protocol, you still have to use good clinical judgment for the use of the protocol. But I did pass that out along with some roll-up materials.
There are copies here if you'd like more copies.
I got a question on that. So the first question is major trauma criteria and blunt mechanism. If yes, then you put the C collar on. If no, then you go to the next question, which is altered mental status. GCS less than 15. So if the GCS is less than 15, they want me to put the C collar on? That's kind of crazy. Because the stuff that's actually below it is a lot more important than the altered mental status.
Apparently. I followed the flow chart.
There was a request that this flow chart go to a graphic information organizer.
That's a job.
Yeah.
So if you have
And it was declined. They said quite roughly that, well, we've shown this to a lot of EMTs and it works just fine.
so if you have a hypoglycemic patient and they have an altered mental status, then they need a C collar on?
No, read major trauma criteria and blunt mechanism. Then,
No. And if the answer to that is no, what's the next question?
okay, altered mental status.
And if the answer to that is yes, then what am I supposed to do?
Use good clinical judgment.
And that's ultimately that's
Not follow the error that says properly fitting rigid cervical collar?
You have to use good clinical judgment. And the CPAP, ironically, the CPAP protocol is a flow chart. It's not written like any other protocol in the manual, and you'll see that when that gets forwarded out. The Ebola, we kind of touched on it, and REMAC a little bit. Obviously, it's broken down into inter-facility transfers and 911 calls. A regional approach is acceptable. However, it's part of the health commerce system either way, and we need to decide as a region how we want to do that and put together a plan. A pilot program out of Suffolk County is in place for BLS providers, or was approved for BLS providers, where they are allowed to use a single lumen double cuff supraglottic airway for basic EMTs, but only on cardiac arrests. Adult cardiac arrests. And they are also going to be trained in end-tidal CO2 reading. So, in essence, this was written for the King tube. They're going to allow basic EMTs in this pilot program to insert a King tube and monitor end-tidal CO2. You need to have 2 providers on the scene, but the EMT, a CFR can't do it. Only an EMT can do it. If any other regions want to jump on board with this pilot program that is able, we need to just let someone from Suffolk County.
Bob DeLoggy from Nassau County.
No.
Suffolk County. Suffolk.
He would probably kill you for
Yeah,
that.
he would for that.
The spinal mobilization education is is working on a training program. As Beth said, it is probably going to be a year-long process. I think that there will be more to come as far as when agencies and regions can roll that out. The goal is obviously to get that out as quickly as possible, and they thought that a year was a bit excessive.
Can I just interject? Because much akin to the way people here participated in the CPAP trial project, you as an individual agency cannot just go to Suffolk County and say, I want in. It has to go through the food chain, through Phil.
Regional, right.
And Phil has to be the one to disseminate that.
Correct.
And the other thing is, I would ask for extreme caution in sharing this information, because providers are going to see this flow chart and think that this is already in place. And if you recall, there was a lengthy discussion about development of the training and everything else. We need to be very clear that this final protocol is not a protocol yet. The training material has not been approved.
Correct.
I don't know if I would have handed this out yet, I'll be honest with you.
Or at least market draft.
It actually isn't draft. It is the approved protocol.
But it hasn't come through the department to the
Correct,
regions
but
or
people
the
are going to see
agencies.
this, and there's nothing indicated on this copy that you gave out saying that it is a draft, or is a work in progress. I don't want some poor provider thinking.
If he had copied the front page, it would have said just the final report from the tag.
Yeah, I didn't include all of the other stuff.
No, I'm just-
The protocol is in place. The training mechanism is not.
Right, but the protocol hasn't been rolling out.
It hasn't
And I
been.
have to be honest with you, I'm not so sure that the protocol has changed all that much from the selective spinal immobilization protocol to start with. It's to help clarify it for a responder.
Right, but I just don't want to see the poor Joe EMT who sees us at the station pick it up. Oh, look, this is what we're doing now. I'm looking out for the providers here.
And I think that the same applies for the adult respiratory protocol, has to be issued by the department down the food
Correct,
chain.
but when you have information like this being disseminated without a word of caution on there, I don't want to see a provider thinking they're doing the right thing get in trouble.
Makes sense.
A lot of information is disseminated at these meetings as works in progress, and if it's shared at the wrong point, someone could hang for it.
I have to agree, you've got to be really, really careful, because when we, the last time we did the protocol changes, when just our region was doing it, we sent out draft protocols to the all the providers as saying these are draft, we want your comments, and the next thing we knew, we had people using these things. And they don't listen. I mean, they don't read. So you have to be very, very careful about what you disseminate to providers, because as soon as they get it, they're going to see that, they're going to take it and say, oh, this is the new stuff, and they're going to go with it. So it's just, you have to be careful with that kind of thing. I couldn't believe how many times we found out that people were using these protocols that we clearly marked were for their comments only, and they were not, they were not to be used. So, just that's what people do.
Education had stated that currently they are receiving this from the time a student takes a state exam till the time that they receive notification of their results ranges anywhere between 18 and 28 days. The actual goal is 16 days. They are hoping at some point that testing will be digital, and that the State Department of Health will be purchasing more printers to print cards. Apparently that's a problem. They don't have enough printers.
Needs to go out to a graphic organizer.
There was some talk about the state exams for instructors and that 85%, where they have to take the exam in order to maintain an instructor. Apparently there's going to be 2 instructor tests created, one for a CLI, one for a CIC, so you don't just take the exam every single time. And it's going to be more based on education and methodology for education. So the goal is obviously to create better instructors. They gave a brief report with a whole bunch of statistics. I'll get those out to Phil for pass rates, you know, for all of the courses for 2015. But real briefly, about 92% passed the CFR, 92 pass rate, 82. AEMT surprisingly was 51, although there was a low number of students.
162
so,
students.
you know, that obviously is going to skew those numbers a little bit.
This was the new AMT.
The new
The new
AEMT.
AMT only had a 51% pass rate. Critical care was 89%, and paramedic was 88%.
If I can speak just on the AEMT one, I kind of knew that those were the stats that we were looking at when I went into it and we did our first one. We're waiting for one to test, but other than that, the class of 17 that we had a 100% pass rate on it. I think most of it is attributed to the fact that we did an extensive advanced standing exam beforehand instead of just granting intermediates processed into it, and they really found out what they didn't know. And fortunately, you know, as there's a ton of instructors in the room, the one thing you really want to hear from your students when they come out of the state exam is, wow, that was easier than your exams. I think that's probably the biggest pitfall on the AEMT exam for the state. So it's definitely passable.
The dates are set for the rest of the state council. Hopefully they're out to bid and waiting for the approval of the contract of the location. Blood regulations, after 9 years, the blood regulations are in the final process. They're supposed to go to a vote for the commissioner to be signing. DOH has a policy statement ready to go, as well as an educational component. All of that stuff is ready to go, and once it's approved, it will be get out to, I'm assuming, the regional council.
There will also be a process to notify the Department of Health that you wish to become an ambulance transfusion service.
Really?
Effective February 15th, the EpiPen expansion stuff is going through. That basically allows schools, day and summer camps, and any other organization outlined by the commissioner to enact an EpiPen in emergent use. That's policy statement 14-02. So they don't need a prescription for a student anymore. If you have a student with an anaphylaxis crisis at a school, the school can administer that. DOH is also working to renew the 3-year recertification program. They were hoping to make it more permanent, but that is not the case at this point. They're putting it forward for another 3-year renewal, and then hopefully making it permanent. Controlled substances. This is the hot topic. If Mary wants to leave the room, she can do so. As we all know, CMAQ has required all of the BLS agencies to apply for controlled
ALS.
substances.
ALS.
Or ALS agencies to apply for controlled substance license by May 1st. While they have the ability to do that, they do not have the ability to enforce that. So, there are ways to do that as well. Instead of making it a resolution, they are going to make a regulatory change, and that will probably take some time, I'm guessing. Months, if not a year or years. Who knows? I would still encourage, while that May 1st deadline for those agencies that haven't done it and don't plan on doing it is approaching, I'm not going to say don't do it. Obviously, it is still the recommendation of the CMAQ to get that done. The enforcement part of it can't happen, but it will happen. There's no question about it. The attorneys are drafting the regulations and the regulatory piece as we speak, and it's going to go through the process so that it can actually be enforceable. In fact, the CMAQ went as far as if you're an agency medical director and your agency does not choose to do that. In not so many words, they encouraged regional councils to not approve that medical director for those agencies. that makes any sense. Beth, you want to add anything else to that?
The CMAC also put it in a motion to support the Office of Primary Care and Health Systems Management. Did I say that right? In their pursuit of changing over the regulatory, to making this a regulatory process, and was the motion was proposed by Dr. Daly and was seconded by the physician from the county that is doing most of the pushback.
Pediatric
Is he
surveys.
still alive? Or?
The pediatric surveys, a while back, some agencies received pediatric surveys as far as pediatric equipment. The results, as they put it, were less than stellar. Only 15% of the BLS agencies and only 45% of the ALS agencies carry the nationally recommended equipment for pediatrics. Unfortunately, Part 800 really doesn't address any of that. Most agencies, or all agencies, should at least adhere to Part 800, but they do not adhere to the national recommendations. There was a talk a little bit on child safety seats. There currently is no approved ambulance version of a car safety seat, but they do recommend that every agency apply or put some kind of a policy in place on how you're going to transport these pediatric patients, whether it's in their car seat, their own car seat, whether you purchase them, something you should have a policy in place. And it's not only as patients, it's if you pick up mom because she passed out and you need to bring the kid to the hospital with mom because there's no one there, how do you get that child, to that? And if they're not a patient, there was even some talk and consideration on whether or not if your agency uses fly cars, if they should have car seats. But every agency is encouraged to write a policy regarding that.
Good job for time was broken.
There you go. Policy statement 14-3. I know, Phil, I think you emailed that out about the markings on the ambulance.
I did.
The take-home message is don't file for a DBA of ambulance. That's really what it is. You can't name your company ambulance. That's what it boils down to. So you can file for a DBA of anything else that you want, but don't use the word ambulance as the main company. CON tag, that is a document that is, I don't even know where that's going right now, but they're looking to redo the whole CON process. Not just for municipal CONs, but for everything, and that brought up a lengthy discussion because there are, one part of it refers to regulatory statutes that are not in place. The policy statement 0606 don't conform to anything. There's a whole list. I will forward that information to Phil, but that is a work in progress, and that tag is got its work cut out for it.
They started by saying, they started, like, there was a needs group and a process group, and the needs group found that out of all the states, there are only 37 states that have CON processes, and there was only one of them that defined need, and New York State's definition of need exceeded that one other state's definition of need. And, they've been pretty extensive, it sounds like.
They've backed themselves into a little bit of a corner because they're going to have to define certain things. They're going to have to define standards of care and what a qualified, how do they word that? Qualified ambulance is?
Qualified higher level of care.
Yeah, qualified higher level of care is. So that's going to be interesting. Just some words of advice from the safety committee. Powdered alcohol, apparently that some federal requirements are either expiring or have gone away. Powdered alcohol is on its way out, no different than probably like the bath salt and synthetic marijuana stuff. So you basically buy a bottle of water, dump this powder in it, and you're off to the races.
Yeah.
I will forward all of the revisions that were voted on a while ago for Part 800 have now gone through and been approved. So there is some revision for Part 800. It was 38 pages. I wasn't about to print it. Well, I will forward that in electronic format to you, Phil, and disperse it.
Sure.
That'll go up on the registry for a 30-day comment period shortly.
And I think that is a brief summary of what
Hemorrhage control tag.
the what?
Hemorrhage control tag.
I must have.
Okay. Much like the, we've got a lot of changes in the spinal immobilization. They're putting together a tag on hemorrhage control to try to bring the newest science to the front. Our hemorrhage control BLS protocol is pretty antiquated at the moment. So there is a hemorrhage control tag that's been put together. And I know that a few people got connected into that. And I think by the next meeting, they'll have a tag report and we'll move forward with changing the hemorrhage control BLS protocol as well to reflect hemostatic dressings, tourniquets.
In
all of-
order in which they are applied.
Yes.
So you don't have to go through airway and
breathing
and
before you get to circulation.
Before you get to circulation if the person's leg is amputated.
So I think that's something that will come down by the May meeting.
That's it, I think.
Okay, thank you. I have a question, this posed to me. I don't know how the controlled substance applications are going, how, quickly everybody's jumping on the boat there, but from what I understand, the application has to be in by May 15th, right? May 1st.
The application, that was the original date. Again, reality is the agencies that have any interest in applying for it have done so already. That's the reality.
Well, yes and no. In this region, there is a bunch that have not, and the holdup is the Bassett and Mothership. Okay, we're working with them. Gus has been helping with it. I just sent some more information over to one of the people over there this week or last week. Their legal department is looking at the pharmacy agreement. There are more than several, there are quite a few agencies in this region that are willing to go forward once they get an agreement with Bassett. The holdup right now is Bassett.
And it wasn't to be applied by May 1st, it was to be possess and administer. So everything had to be done and in place before May 1st.
Right, we asked everyone to apply by March
Right.
of 15. Now with this latest CMAC edict, we have no teeth to enforce this. I mean, is it a standard of care? Is it a good idea for the patient? Absolutely. But if you don't have them by May 15th, what would you like me to do?
You're not going to get your hands on that.
I wouldn't stop the process. If you are in the process, I would continue forward with the process. The regulatory piece is happening. The DLA and the people that were there are truly on the CMAC side and are working on it. Now, obviously, the counties that are pushing to not do this have a lot of money. I will just say that. Whether it gets stalled politically, who knows? But they're moving forward to make that regulatory piece happen, and then it will be enforceable. So I would not, if you've already started the process.
You didn't share that graph in your packet, did you, of where the
I did.
deficiencies are?
They are not. They are, believe it or not, south of here.
They could be lopped off by a bridge.
I have one other question regarding the CON, or the controlled substances. My agency, I did all the legwork and everything, and presented it to our medics. And talking about using Delaware Valley Hospital, which is a UHS system. Do your hospitals, does your hospital require a signed contract with the agencies?
I believe so.
Yes.
I think part of the challenge is they're trying to, and maybe the benefit of this laborious process is they're trying to standardize it across all the hospitals.
There has to be an agreement in order to apply. That's not a hospital agreement, that is, we ask for proof of an agreement.
Right.
Whether you have it with Boundtree, More Medical, or Joe's Pharmacy, we ask for a copy of that contract or that agreement when you submit your application.
I don't know how it's gonna go now, but I know UHS has asked for a signed contract, and part of that contract is that, every 30 days, the ambulances will be taken over to Delaware Valley Hospital, the pharmacist will get on and check everything on the ambulances, make sure they're compliant. That's part of their contract.
Is UHS also requiring biometric safes? Because a lot of the Syracuse region is required, their pharmacists have required biometric safes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you talked to Norwich City Fire about how they've dealt with their UHS hospital in this whole
I got a
thing?
copy of their contract.
Okay,
Yeah.
I just wanted to put you in the right direction.
So we need to be abreast of when this is going into effect as a law.
You'll have plenty of notice.
Yeah.
As a public.
Because it'll have to have the 30-day commentary and everything.
It's months, if not years.
Multiple years.
Okay. All right, well, thank you very much, Tom, and, okay. Program meeting, do you have anything on that?
Yeah, I have. I was not able to get to the regional program directors meeting. However, I heard from Mike Taylor about what went on there. The meeting was held at Remo on January 12th. The DOH made a presentation on the new deliverables for the contract period 2015 to 2020. 2015 to 2020, and considerable input was received by everybody present to the effect that they are revising the deliverables, making them more realistic, I guess. And there's going to be revision and follow-ups, and Mike said stay tuned for notice of conference calls. They do a lot of work with conference calls now. It makes sense because it saves travel and it saves expenses overall. So I think when the deliverables are finally adopted for the period 2015 to 2020, I think they're going to be very reasonable and very attainable.
We talk about that, and I wonder how many people around the table actually know what the hell we're talking about when we say deliverables.
A little while back, I sent a copy of the deliverables expected for the current period, 5-year period, 2010 and 2015. I sent that out to everybody, to all the members. And as soon as these are finalized, I'm not going to send a draft copy out because it would be too confusing. As soon as these are finalized, I'll send a copy out to everybody. And this is what we have to send in to the state each quarter. Each quarter, for the council contract, and each quarter for the program agency contract, we have to put these together and send them in. There are certain goals that are supposed to be met, and certain reports are supposed to be made on goals that are ongoing. And we put that all together and send it in along with our voucher for expenses every quarter, for both the council and the program agency contract. So we're in progress right now, and within the next couple of months, according to what Mike Taylor says, within the next couple of months, it'll be finalized, and he's going to send it out. And as soon as I get the finalized copy, I'll make sure everybody gets a copy of it. It's the same deliverables all over the state. It's not just unique to a particular region. But anyway, that was the main part of the
Any other program updates?
program updates. Just again to reiterate, January 12th, as I mentioned to everybody, and I sent out to everybody, our partnership in the collaborative protocols was approved by the state. They wanted to make sure that we had followed our approval process, and I said, yes, we certainly did. And they thanked me, and we sent a letter through. The letter came through with a delightful typo on it to Dr. Lewis Jones.
And their September 2015 meeting.
Yeah, I saw that,
Yeah.
I saw that too.
Congratulations, did you get a good raise?
I haven't seen it yet, but I'm waiting.
Dr. Fisher sent me an email that says, who's Dr. Jones? I advise him who Dr. Jones was. I enjoyed it.
That's okay, I got a letter in the mail from the same way.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah.
Did you really? Oh, that's my only program update, so.
Okay, REMAC?
REMAC had no action items. We discussed a variety of topics, including updating the application on Androids and other devices to correctly identify which facilities in the region are not medical control facilities. We discussed abbreviations for medications and recommended no abbreviations since we have no approved abbreviation list. There's some discussion about how to administered mag sulfate with alternative regimens. Nitrous oxide is enabled by the protocol, but in the application, the remap would request the medical director to specify that they're on board and also how they would monitor the utilization and control of that agent. The protocol's rollout would go online with attestation from agencies and agency medical directors that individuals within agencies have completed the information, or at least attest to the fact that they're aware of the information. And Cherry Valley had a request that they participate in ALS training and be with DOH reimbursement for same, and what's required is a letter of intent to become ALS. So I saw some information after we discussed this last that all that's needed is a letter of intent to become ALS, documented, and that can go forward to the DOH as evidence justifying reimbursement. And then we had a discussion on the Ebola. What was that? And we had a executive.
Okay, thank you. County reports, Delaware? Let's go.
Our classes are ongoing. Other than that, no other report.
Harry?
Schoharie County has an opening for an EMS coordinator. They've made some changes in the county, and that job has been posted on the county website.
Montgomery?
We have nothing new really. Again, I could leave this brochure on their educational classes. If anybody wants to attend those.
Bolton?
We're in the process of updating bylaws and mutual aid plans. Other than that, nothing new.
Okay. Hamilton?
Just going along, trying to stay warm.
Do we have any other old business? Do we have any new business for the council? Yes, Howard?
Just one little quick thing. Well, two, I guess. One, thank you for everybody's support of the Winter Symposium. We had a tremendous turnout. It was really, really nice. We had 101 registrants. And the second thing is, I've always said that facts is the best way to kill rumor. So I spoke to Mark Hitchcock after he called me, and he authorized me to say it here. But they surprised me, but FMCC called and asked if SUNY Cobbleskill's paramedic program would help to take over their state core sponsorship training requirements over there. So I don't know how it's going to shake out, but I met with their dean, and we're going to try and work with them to maintain that there's an EMT class that stays at the FMCC campus. That's it.
Any other new business?
New business, I asked for input from the folks present. I mentioned it to Howard privately at lunchtime. The Speculator Ambulance Corps is considering purchasing a Lucas CPR device. We had a demo last night, and everybody was very impressed by it. And one of our members, a couple of our members said, actually, because we had, years ago, had purchased an auto pulse, and it did not, let us say, meet our expectations fully. In other words, it didn't work. But the battery kept going to sleep.
Expensive, aren't they?
They are expensive batteries, yes, which were not working. Anyway, if you have any experience with the Lucas CPR device, I'd love to hear from you about it. I understand Dr. Daly was instrumental in getting one in the ED at AMC, and I sent him an email and said, let me know what you think of it. I think he would praise it highly because he was the one who wanted to get there in the first place. But Howard, I know you use them in Albany County, don't you?
I use them in the field in Albany County with the Sheriff's Office, and SUNY Cobleskill has one if anybody wants to come down and take a look at it, but they're great. And I've used the Auto Pulse, I've used the Thumpers, and by far, Lucas is great. Just from a provider safety-wise, not having to do compressions with your rear end squished up against the cabinet and one hand on the rail, and you get better compressions out of it too. So it's creepy though if you're the only paramedic taking a cardiac arrest to the hospital with nobody else in the back. Because if you have a vent in a Lucas 2, you're literally just sitting there and waiting for every 3 to 5 minutes for epi.
Phil, you might want to reach out to the town of Colony. The town of Colony actually has very good success numbers related to it, and they're very willing to share information.
Excellent.
Pete Berry.
They're still using the thumpers though, they're not using the Lucas device.
But I mean,
don't
as
think.
far as selling anyone on the compression devices,
Device, yeah,
Anyone here had any experience with the auto pulse, other than Phil and?
They suck.
yeah.
We had two of them for sale.
I got two in a better place.
Incidentally, the
they'll throw in a
Lucas
free
salesman,
cooler.
the Lucas salesman advised me that if you have an auto pulse, he'll give you a $2,000 rebate on it.
Really?
Yeah. He'll take it off your hands for $2,000. I didn't say so, but I would have been happy to have him take it off our hands for $50. But anyway, it's an impressive looking device, and the problem with the Zoll, what we found, the auto pulse, is that the batteries didn't last. No matter what, no matter how well you conditioned them or unconditioned them, they simply didn't last. And what he did was, when he came into the demo last night, he turned on the device, he brought his own little mannequin, and he turned on the device and just let it run. And after 30 or 35 minutes, I said, well, it's already met, it's exceeded the Zoll's expectations, you know, the Zoll's performance. So we did talk about it, and I'm anxious to hear from folks who might have had some experience with it.
We've had patients that were in cardiac arrest that had great blood pressures because the Lucas 2 was running.
Mm-hmm.
It'll go 6 hours if you plug the shoreline in.
Right.
Yeah.
If you're going to transport or
Plug into your inverter, you go.
our transport, we plug it in, that one battery will last 6 hours.
Probably run out of epi, but
Yeah.
You run out of
You
it.
can't get there in 6 hours, don't go.
Call it.
Be out of fuel in there.
Any other business?
Get fuel.
If not, need a motion for adjournment?
Sure. You got it.
Everyone have a safe month.
We next meet on Monday February 19th, 2015.